Before she ever set foot in Westeros, Daenerys Targaryen possessed the ultimate military advantage: 3 dragons and an army of true believers. But firepower isn't the same as governance. She was a conqueror who struggled with the nuances of a political system she hadn't seen since infancy. In King's Landing, Cersei Lannister had the opposite problem. She understood the game, but her paranoia made it impossible to play. She viewed every potential ally as a hidden enemy, leading her to make reckless decisions that traded long-term stability for immediate, spiteful wins. The trajectory of the war wasn't determined by dragons alone, but by where the strategic intelligence of the realm was concentrated. When Tyrion Lannister's loyalty shifts from the invading queen back to his own house, the mathematical balance of power in Westeros is completely rewritten. Daenerys' original victory was a direct byproduct of the Lannisters' internal collapse. By removing the primary cause of that collapse, the invasion faces a vastly different political landscape. The timeline diverges in the tunnels beneath the Red Keep. Instead of reaching the Tower of the Hand to kill his father, Tyrion is intercepted by Jaime. Jaime doesn't just offer an escape, he offers a reality check. Killing Tywin ensures the extinction of their house. Tyrion flees the city, but he carries a different motivation. He realizes that while Cersei will never love him, his father's impending death and the family's precarious position create a desperate need for a mind like his. He chooses to prove his worth through survival rather than revenge. He stays in contact with Jaime from the shadows. With Tywin aging and the young King Tommen lacking any political instinct, the Lannisters are a house with immense resources, but no one capable of directing them effectively. Tyrion begins filtering his counsel through Jaime, acting as the hidden architect of the crown's defense. This arrangement allows Cersei to benefit from his brilliance without having to acknowledge his presence, turning a disgraced exile into the secret strategist of a unified Lannister front. From his position in the shadows, Tyrion's first priority is damage control. He recognizes that Cersei's plan to arm the Faith militant is a self-inflicted wound. He uses Jaime to convince her that a religious army is a weapon she can't point, preventing the High Sparrow from ever seizing control of the streets. Next, he repairs the bridge Cersei tried to burn, the alliance with House Tyrell. Instead of alienation and suspicion, he advocates for a partnership based on cold, mutual necessity. He understands that the crown cannot survive without the Reach. This map illustrates the vital artery of the kingdom. By securing Olenna Tyrell's cooperation, Tyrion ensures a steady flow of grain and gold into King's Landing. The visual deficit meter here represents the city's stability. As the Reach provides, the crown's literal and political hunger is satisfied. With the city fed and the treasury replenished, the primary drivers of populace unrest, starvation, and poverty begin to recede. The Lannisters aren't just holding the city, they are fortifying it, turning a fractured capital into a secure seat of power, backed by the Reach's military and economic might. By the time Daenerys sets sail, she isn't heading toward a kingdom in chaos. She is heading toward a continent that has spent months consolidating its defenses under a single, coherent strategy. When Daenerys finally reaches the shores of Westeros, she arrives as a foreign conqueror. Without Tyrion by her side to explain the local customs and political sensitivities, she remains blind to the landscape she intends to rule. Tyrion, however, knows exactly how she thinks. He understands her desire to be a breaker of chains and a moral liberator. He realizes that her greatest weakness isn't her dragons, it's her conscience. He orchestrates a series of empty diplomatic gestures, fake peace summits, and protracted hostage negotiations. These aren't meant to end the war, but to paralyze Daenerys with the fear of becoming a butcher. Every day she waits is another day the Lannisters spend mass-producing scorpions and strengthening their naval blockades. This diagram represents the Targaryen coalition. As Tyrion's tall tactics continue, the fragile lines of trust begin to snap. The Greyjoys grow restless for battle, the Martells demand immediate vengeance, and the Starks lose interest in a queen who won't march north. One by one, Daenerys' allies drift away, leaving her isolated on Dragonstone. This is a siege of momentum rather than walls. By forcing Daenerys into a political stalemate she isn't equipped to win, Tyrion causes her invasion to wither before it can ever reach the gates of the capital. The final outcome is total Lannister hegemony. Daenerys is either forced back across the sea or left to rule a lonely island, her dragons sidelined by a world that refused to give her a reason to use them. In this timeline, King's Landing remains intact. There is no firestorm, no massacre of the innocents, and no Mad Queen descent. The city survives because Tyrion was there to prevent the circumstances that would have burnt it down. But the peace that follows is a cold one. The Lannister dynasty that emerges is a perfectly functioning autocracy, one that is smarter, more efficient, and far more difficult to overthrow than the chaotic regimes Cersei would have built on her own. The kingdom is physically preserved, but it is locked into a regime of calculated control. The moral weight of this stability rests entirely on the man who made it possible. Tyrion is forced to inhabit the world he built. He must watch as the Lannister lion tightens its grip, knowing that every act of state-sponsored oppression is only successful because of the systems he designed. The irony is that Tyrion's empathy is what makes him so effective at controlling people. He understands human suffering, and in this timeline, he uses that understanding to ensure the crown's enemies never have the leverage to revolt. This creates a form of sustainable cruelty. Unlike a typical tyrant whose excesses lead to their own downfall, a ruler guided by Tyrion's intellect avoids those mistakes, making the regime's power permanent and its victims hopeless. We often fear the ruler who burns cities in a fit of rage, but there is something far more dangerous: the ruler who is smart enough to keep the fires under control, ensuring that the system of fear never burns out.